Hello and welcome back, folks. Now today's watch is a special one. It's the very first DOXA to grace this channel. I know what took me so long. For someone who loves a good dive watch like me, DOXA should have been featured months ago, right? So here we have it, the DOXA Sub 200T in the Caribbean blue dial with the famous beads of rice bracelet. And why start with this one? Well, if we're being honest, because it looks bloody fantastic. Just look at that blue dial with those orange accents. But there's actually a bigger reason I picked this particular model, the Sub 200T, to be the brand's debut on the channel. The dimensions on this thing had me curious. See, I've got a 7.5-inch wrist, which is on the larger side, but I've got a feeling, and DOXA's spec sheet seems to back this up, that the Sub 200T might just be the perfect luxury dive watch for a smaller wrist too. And I don't mean it technically fits a smaller wrist, I mean it actually looks the part, it looks sexy. And to prove it, I've borrowed a very special guest today, my daughter, who has kindly lent me her 5.5-inch wrist. This will help frame the argument for this DOXA, because we're going to see this 39mm diver on both ends of the spectrum. So today isn't just about what works for the men out there, it's about what could work for the women too. So let's put that theory to the test and start with the all-important dimensions. Now let's talk numbers, because on paper this one might throw you off. If you look at the spec sheet, that 39mm case diameter might seem far too big, especially if your wrist sits in the 5 to 6 inch category. But here's the thing, the spec sheet doesn't tell the whole story. This is a cushion case design, and DOXA have kept an incredibly tight lug-to-lug of 41.5mm. So on the wrist it feels compact, and honestly it wears much smaller than that headline number suggests. Furthermore, the thickness comes in at 10.7mm, which is excellent for a 200-meter dive watch. You're not getting a slab on your wrist here, and DOXA fitted this with an 18mm lug width, not the standard 20. Now that might sound like a small detail, but it reinforces my whole theory. This watch was built to look great on smaller wrists. Now, does it look bad on my 7.5-inch wrist? No, not at all, but in the interest of full honesty, if I were buying today, I'd probably go for the bigger brother, the 300T. That one comes in at 42.5mm, a 20mm lug-to-lug, and a thicker case at 13.4mm. It also cost more, but for my wrist size, I think that would honestly suit me better. And you can buy both of these fantastic watches with my partner for this video, Watcho Jewelers. They are my go-to supplier of watches these days and stock an impressive variety of brands including DOXA. By using the discount code shown on screen, you can bag up to 12% off the 200T and 300T. It's worth a look, so please check them out. And finally, for the sake of comparison, here we have the DOXA next to my 39mm Tudor Black Bay 58. To my eyes at least, the Tudor looks bigger thanks to a longer lug-to-lug, a bigger dial, a thicker looking bezel, and a 20mm lug width, both 39mm on paper, but one looks and wears bigger to me. Let me know if you agree or disagree with this view by dropping a comment below. Before we move on, let's get the spec sheet out of the way. Pricing comes in at £1,490, or around $1,790. Under the hood, DOXA officially just say Swiss automatic, but it's reportedly a Sellita movement with some custom DOXA decoration inside, and it comes with 38 hours of power reserve. You're covered to 200 meters water resistance. There's sapphire glass with AR coating, and DOXA back it with a 2-year warranty. Solid numbers all round. Before moving on to deep dive on the dial, can I please ask that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and you can now follow me over on Instagram too. I'll leave the link to my Instagram down in the description below, and if you're really feeling generous, hit that like button. It really helps the YouTube algorithm, so thank you. Now let's talk about this dial, because for me this is where the DOXA really earns its keep. That orange, white and blue combination is just about the perfect color palette in my book. It's punchy without being loud, and it works beautifully against this flat Caribbean blue. And it's not just available in this flat finish either. DOXA also offer a sunburst version of this same blue, which catches the light a little differently depending on the angle. Both look fantastic, but there's something about the flat finish here that keeps things clean and properly legible. That color story is only made better by the two-tone bezel, polished outer ring, brushed inner ring, and honestly, the whole package starts to feel less like a tool watch and more like a piece of jewelry. especially once it's sat on that beads of rice bracelet. The dial itself feels almost small on this 39mm case, but DOXA hasn't sacrificed an ounce of legibility. Those bold, blocky markers are so unmistakably DOXA, and the date window is nice and crisp too. And then you've got those uniquely shaped hands, and it genuinely gives this watch character you just don't get anywhere else. Right, let's talk Lume. On that initial charge, this thing performs really well in low light and proper darkness. You get a lovely blue BGW9 glow, and remember, this isn't a big dial, so you'd think it's punching well above its weight here. But that initial punch does fade fairly quickly. There is a latent glow that holds on afterwards, but it isn't especially strong. If I'm comparing this to a Lume champion like the Tudor Black Bay 58 again, I put this at around a 7 out of 10, where the Tudor is sitting comfortably at a 10 out of 10. Now, is this something that would put me off buying the watch? Not at all. Like I said, the 300T is still firmly on my buy list, but it's just something I need the Lume junkies out there to be aware of. Now, quickly on the bracelet and clasp. This high-quality beads of rice bracelet is exactly what you'd expect from a DOXA, and the on-the-fly clasp is genuinely usable. You're either a fan of this look or you're not, but rubber options are available too. So, final thoughts on the DOXA. Honestly, when I first unboxed this watch, it didn't hit me as a must-have for the collection. This wasn't love at first sight, but having handled it and spent proper time with it over the last week, my mind has genuinely changed. I think the issue was that I misjudged how this 39mm case would wear on my bigger wrist. I should have been more diligent and paid closer attention to that all-important lug-to-lug measurement, because that's really where the story is here. This is a beautiful dive watch for anyone in that 5.5 to 6.5 inch wrist range. It's genuinely stunning in this Caribbean blue with those white and orange accents doing all the right things. It feels like a piece of jewelry, if I'm honest. Yes, it's a serious dive watch with real DOXA pedigree, but it comes with a style that makes a strong case for this being a unisex watch. That 39mm case wears smaller, closer to a 36 or 37mm watch, and that 18mm lug width works so much better on slimmer wrists without ever looking out of place thanks to the smaller dial. The bezel action deserves a mention too. It's excellent, easy to grip, easy to twist, solid feeling with precise clicks every step of the way. And DOXA's depth markings here really are unique in the dive watch world, unlike anything else out there. Now, if I'm being critical, there are a couple of areas DOXA could improve. That elapsed time Lume performance, strong initial glow, but it could hold on a bit better as the clock ticks. And at this price point, with a power reserve that's not exactly industry leading, it does make you wonder if a spec bump might be due sometime soon. But in short, if you're buying a DOXA, it's because you love the uniqueness it brings to the dive watch world. And if you're after a truly unisex dive watch for the man or woman in your house, honestly, this could well be it. So that's it for today, and as always folks, if you enjoyed this one, hit like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, keep on ticking folks.